All right. Hey guys, welcome to this CoDot podcast. With me, I have Mr. Nishu, a serial entrepreneur and someone with nearly a decade of working in the tech industry. He has a bit of a global background when it comes to his education and is like very well versed in how to develop and manage projects and bring them to market. Um, right now he's currently having succeeded at various different roles in his recent past. He's currently working on his own product, and as a co-founder of that, he's bringing to market, a Web3 sort of DAO, which would, bring more access to people who are sort of new to this space and are sort of learning about it and want to invest their time in it as well. So thank you for joining us today, Mr. Nishu.
Yeah, thanks, Vinay. Thanks for the
All
introduction.
right. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to get to know, since you're a serial entrepreneur, right? It would be really interesting for our viewers, and a lot of people ask this, is that when you step into an industry and try to disrupt it by creating your own sort of DAO, um, many entrepreneurs go through this rush of success and then often peter out, and then there's stages of failure, and there's stages of sort of this denial that okay, this project can work out at some stage. When you were starting your journey in 2014, this whole craze behind entering the market as a startup and bringing your idea, attracting investment, it wasn't as robust. So can you share why you decided to sort of begin a startup at the time that you did, and why eventually you decided to exit that startup as well, and various
Cool,
decisions you took around that?
cool. So, just one correction over here. So, we are not building a
Hmm.
DAO at this point in time. It's a DAO marketplace.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
so that's a difference. So again, coming back to your question, in 2013, 2014, I mean, I was in my college, sophomore year mostly. So, I mean, I realized in first year that I'm interested in computer science. I'm interested in coding, but I was more interested in doing other work as well. So I did in first year I did my internship in marketing, which was very different from the technical background which I was looking to do. Right, and it gave me a lot of perspective that what marketing is, doing the groundwork at that point of time. Uh, Google marketing or Facebook performance marketing was not relevant at that point of time. It was more of a people meeting people and making sure that they are able to get their apps downloaded, they're able to get their website in the market. So it was more of that kind of a marketing. So I met a lot of people. So I was in Delhi NCR, so went to a lot of events. Uh, Sunday mornings, meeting a lot of people at CP, and pushing our product to them. So
Hmm.
realize that yeah, this is something which is interesting, and this is something where maybe I should look at my future, right, rather than coding itself.
Hmm.
So my journey started from there itself. In sophomore year, I got in touch with one of my co-founders, not this one, but previous Rocket Food co-founder,
Yeah.
Vineet Kumar, who was also in same college, but 3 years senior to me. Right, so
Hmm.
he was graduating, and he proposed the idea that he is looking to build something. So once we start doing it, why don't you come on board, join us, and look if that interests you, right? So
Hmm.
from there onwards, I mean, I was open to doing that. I didn't join as a co-founder straight away, but
Hmm.
because we didn't know each other. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
I met that person first time, so you don't expect to be offered a co-founder role, right? Straight away.
Yeah.
So I met him. So we started from the ideation phase itself, and then we started building Rocket Food. Um, we realized that it looks fancy from the outset and from the outside that you are building a startup, right? And
Yeah.
especially food business, it looks like it's very easy to do. You just have to open a shop or a restaurant out, right? But
Yeah.
the fact is that even for a restaurant, right from a dhaba, which is at the roadside, to a five-star restaurant, everyone is a competitor. It's not just that your competitor is in your near 500 to 1 kilometer mark, right? It's
Yeah.
like that. Everyone is competing for the same set of people, same market, right? And you have to figure out which one will work for you, which one will not work for you. Uh,
Mm,
so there when we started it from the ideation phase, and pretty much we were able to crack it from the outset. None of us had any experience of doing business at that point of time. There were three co-founders, and I was computer science
mm,
student. One was from BBA, one was had did from there is bachelor's in technology in mechanical engineering, right? So very different
mm,
set of folks, and none of them have any business skills, right? So
mm,
we started from there. The food tech space was dominated at that point of time by not by Swiggy. Zomato was just a listing platform at that point of time. Food Panda was there,
mm,
which was a very dominant player in the market. Then there was Tiny Owl at that point of time, which raised a lot of funds, and they were food
mm,
tech company and basically an ordering company. While we were looking to build cloud kitchens at that particular point of time. So a
mm,
lot of idea was to build a hub and a spoke model. So one central kitchen in North India, one in South India,
mm,
one in East, and then uh, build spokes, smaller units around it, and then deliver food from there, right? So central kitchen, what
mm,
that does is brings down a lot of costs for the food, right? So
mm,
yeah, so started from there. What we wanted to do is we wanted to reinvent North Indian meal, right? So
mm,
reinventing doesn't mean that you will start from the very basic. It meant that we will make sure that it's a healthier option. We go to any North Indian restaurant in, at least in North India, North and South India. In North India, we see that there's a lot of oil. The portions are not very generic everywhere you go. It varies from place to place. So we wanted to condense that, and we wanted to bring together a healthier option which people can eat on a day-to-day basis. You cannot eat
mm,
in restaurant for 7 days a week, right? But we wanted to make sure that
mm,
whatever food which we are cooking goes out to people, and everyone will love to order 7 days a week. That was the whole idea
mm.
behind it, and we wanted to make sure that you can eat it on the go, right? So there came the idea of North Indian meal in a pizza box, right? So
Okay.
uh, when you order a pizza, you can eat it on the go, right? So you don't need any cutlery, you don't need anything else, unless you need a ketchup, right? If you're a
Mm.
ketchup guy on pizza, then it's a different scenario. But if you're not, then uh, then you can eat it on the go. You can walk and you can eat. You can be in a car. You can eat. You can be at your house and you can eat pizza, and you can just close that box and dump it, right? You don't need to
Yeah.
bring out your cutlery. So that's why we wanted to bring in that pizza box concept in North Indian meal. So our food was
Mm,
packed exactly like that, and that acted as a differentiator from our
mm,
company. So people love that. People love the fact that you don't need to have cutlery. You can just eat in the box, and it was a single person portion, right? So rather than as a single person, as a student or as a working professional who's not married, right, or who has a family,
mm,
living with a family, you don't need the bigger portion, right? You just need to portion for one, right? And that's how we were looking to price it itself. So that's where the
mm.
concept of rocket food came. We worked for nearly 2 years, 1.8 years, nearly 2 years, right? So
Sure.
um I mean, we did break even for 2 months. I mean, that was
Mm.
6 months into business, so that was a kind of achievement for us. But
Yeah.
apart from that, what we realized is that food is a cycle, right? So India has a
Mm,
lot of festivals, Hindu festivals, and people tend to order less or tend to cook at their home during certain time, like festivals. So you go from Dashera, Diwali, 2 months the business will be pretty low. You go for rainy season, the order quantity will be low. right? So, and
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday, the order will be low. Saturday, Sunday, people like to go out, so the order quantity won't be that high. So there was
Mm,
a much there was a cycle. So it's a 6 month cycle. So 6 months you will have very high orders. You will make a lot of money. For next 6 months you won't. Right. So
mm,
as a business, you have to do a balance act that you make
mm,
enough money in 6 months that you can make sure that the next 6 months, even if your business goes down, you're able to do that, right? And we were doing
mm.
without any funding, so um, it was not that we can
Okay.
offer heavy discounts and make sure that even orders are coming, right? So there's no VC money to burn, so we have to make sure that we don't do any such thing which burns our pocket literally, right? So
Mm,
that's what we were trying to do, and why we exited the business. In 1.5 years, we realized that food business is something which is very competitive. We realized that there were a lot of
yeah.
mistakes that we did, right?
Mm,
I mean, earlier we were bought into the hype itself that food business cannot be that hard, right? And one month, within 1 to 2 months into the business, we realized that no, that's not the case. It's a totally opposite case that food business is hard. If you're running a restaurant or even a cloud kitchen, everyone is a competitor, right? So
yeah.
again, the idea of hub and spoke model, um, uh, we realized that okay, this is something which is not going to be very profitable. If you look into the business, you are just only making 7 to 10% on every order, and in order to
Mm,
survive, what you need to do is you need to make a big central kitchen and then uh, dissipate order from there. So
mm,
that was something which was on the hindsight, which we could have done, which we didn't do. We exited
mm,
the business. We realized that 7 to 10% is not something of a healthy margin, and we had ambitions
mm,
of going pan India within next 2 to 3 years.
mm.
And we were at very peak. I mean, I was at 22, 21 years of age. My co-founders
Yeah.
were 24, 25 years at that point of time. So I realized that it's rather than not wasting, but rather than spending our time doing the rocket food, why don't we do something else which can then which can then propel our opportunity cost, right? So opportunity cost is
Mm-hmm.
something which is very huge. If you're young, you can dedicate a lot of time, right? I was in my college for 6 hours a day, and I was working at Rocket Food for like 14 hours a day, right? I was sleeping like two to
Okay.
three hours a day. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, I cannot do
Mm,
it at this point of time. I'm 30 years old right now, so my body won't allow it. But at
yeah.
21, my body allowed it.
Mm,
So sleeping 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours a day, going in the morning to do to give pamphlets in newspapers at 5 o'clock early, or bringing food from the food. I mean the ingredients for the kitchen at 5 in the morning every day, day in day
mm,
out. That was a huge task, and then taking a metro to college, that
yeah.
became a very huge task for me, right? So uh, I realize that the opportunity cost is high for us. So I mean, we for the time which we want to spend over here, if we spend somewhere else building a tech company, we can have a better
Mm,
result, right? The output
mm,
can be much greater for us,
mm,
right? So that's why we decided that okay, it's good time. We have done one business. We realized what were our mistakes. Let's sell it to a local player and exit the business, and that's
mm,
how I mean we exited Rocket Food. After that,
mm,
if we talk about, I completed my college. I was in final year of my college, so completed my college because the option was there that either I complete my college or drop. And dropping is
mm,
something which was not an option for me at least.
mm,
I don't come from that kind of a background, right? So I wanted to complete my college, and if you talk about the career after that, like I said, we are even. Let's assume for me,
mm,
I wanted to be in tech. I wanted to understand more of a technology, how it's built, how tech companies are built, right? So that's where I decided that okay, let's complete my college. Let's work in 2 to 3 companies. Take that experience working with the technology guys. because working with kitchen staff and working with technology guys is a totally different thing, right? So
Yeah.
wanted to learn from the tech guys how the products are built, how it's marketed, and how if I have to build it in future, how can I do it, right? So that was the whole concept behind getting into market, and not again starting my own business right away. It was more of a that why I should go for a learning curve, so that in future, when I start, I will have at least have some kind of experience of running a tech company, or being in a tech company. So that's why I went for the roles which I went.
Hmm. Right. Well, that was a whole journey. You just described an entire journey of your life. And you like the way I see it, like that you're going through a lot of like experience, like you're basically having to learn a lot of things in a very short duration of time. And you're also like camped for like, you have college life, you have a lot of other things to work out as well. But the journey that you went through, like with your startup, and like oftentimes having to make decisions under pressure, which can eventually, yeah, they can be correct, they can be like, sometimes they may not succeed, because you're learning so much as you're building the product. Like you told me, you have to consider the product itself, what market you're targeting, so you have to have a brand and an approach that you're targeting the market with. On top of that, you also discussed how there is a sort of hub and spoke idea, like for these type of products, like because you have to manage the cycle of food from the beginning all the way to the end, so you want to know how to deliver to the customer as efficiently as possible with minimum spoilage issues, things such as that. And this was at a very early stage, right? So like with Swiggy and Zomato, it sort of standardized like the method of delivery of food and like the various modules that you'll go through as you're delivering the food. So you took a great risk. And I would say it was quite successful, because the amount that it taught you for the amount of pressure that you had to deal with, I feel like that was a pretty good move on your part to even exit the business, because it wasn't as a result of failures or as a result of pure tiredom. I think it was just realizing that, okay, this is taking this much amount of time for me, and I have opportunities elsewhere to develop a more savvy product, rather than dedicate my entire life to this. I feel like that's how you saw it. So when it comes to like growth and scaling the product, I think you realized, okay, we've managed the product at this level, and now instead of trying to grow this product further, bring it to scale, go full nationwide, it's time to maybe move on and like let someone who's managing food cycles already handle this. All right.
Right.
So I guess the next question naturally is like, having done this startup situation, having stepped back and realized, okay, I've graduated now, I need to move into maybe gaining experience in the tech industry purely. Like you said, it's a different game when you're working with people who are in tech themselves, because they have their own issues, and rather than working with someone in the food industry. So how did you like sort of develop your mindset, is what I would ask, because a lot of times someone who jumps into startups, right, and then eventually faces problems or decides, okay, this is not for me, or I need to move out of this for whatever reasons, they find it difficult to like find a role where instead of juggling all of these like multiple roles, you need like deep knowledge of one specific thing. So I guess my question to you is, how did you figure out like which company to work for, and like what type of role would fit you best?
Right. So, like I said, that the idea after getting out of college was that I wanted to learn technology. I wanted to work with a tech team. I wanted to know how they function. So that was the primary reason I wanted to work in the industry. Coming to your first question, as to yeah, I know a lot of folks who build one company and then again try to build another company, even
Hmm.
if the first company fails, right? So, I mean, to each its own. People are, I mean, you cannot if you feel confident to do it, that yes, why not? If you don't feel confident enough, or if you want some kind of security, then people do go for a job. For me, it was not related to security. It was just about pure learning, pure. The mindset was pretty clear that I wanted to learn from
Hmm.
from the whatever team I work with. I wanted to learn from them how to build a technology business. I know I can do marketing. I know I can do operations, and I know how code works, right? So those three concepts I already had. What I was lacking was how a tech product is developed, what's the life cycle of a tech product, and how do you interact with the technology team in order to make sure that whatever product which you're developing, you can hash out the issues. Because we all of us know that to launch a tech product, any for any startup, if they have to launch a product, it has to be fast, right? You want to get into the market, you want to test it out with your beta users, and then you can chop and change, and you can make incremental changes in the product, or upgrades in the product, right? So wanted to learn how that functions. So and that was the whole idea behind getting into a corporate world. In not a corporate world. Corporate will be bigger companies. I again focus on working with companies which were between 0 to 50 employees, which gives me an experience to at least be in the core team, not be in an outside as an associate role where a CEO or CTO or the product manager gives you the work, and you just have to get that work done, and that's it, right? So I was not focusing on getting into bigger companies. I was focusing on getting into 0 to 50 employee company, and even in those, the primary focus was to get at least between 0 to 20. So not a big company, right? And which is into business, but not into like 6 months, 8 months, 6 years, 8 years into the business. Some startup which is 0 to 2 years, having between 1 to 20 employees. That was the preference at that point of time. And there, I took up the role. I worked took up the role of a product manager in a company, in an e-commerce firm actually. So it was the idea was that they wanted to build a gifting e-commerce venture, right? So and that's where I met my current co-founder as well. He was working as a iOS dev lead over there, and I was working as a product manager, right? So and that's where in future the question which you will ask in future, that the bonding where it started, right? So coming back to me, uh, uh, the whole process which I wanted to do is learn the product life cycle. So that's where the e-commerce company came in, and I was able to work with senior resources over there. So since you're working as a product manager, you are torn between your CEO and your tech team, right? So you are that bridge. So you know what the expectation setting is from the top hierarchy, and you know what expectation and how you need to develop uh, the current set of products which is required, so that it can be taken to the customers, number one, and number two, customer satisfaction mean a lot. So if a consumer is happy and satisfied with your product, and they will become an evangelist, right? So the whole idea was to make sure that whatever product we develop is loved by the customer. It's at least reach that level where customer become the product's evangelist, and not like getting the product in the market and testing on and chopping and changing it, right? So that's where I was able to learn a lot, and I was able to bring a lot of learnings from my previous company. The learnings was how to run operations. The learnings was that how the customer means a lot to any company, and how to build a, a product which makes sure that customer becomes the evangelist. So I knew those things, and I wanted to bring that to the tech forefront, and make sure a lovely product is built out and goes into the market. So yeah, I did my stint of 1.5 years over there. Again, it was quite a journey working with the tech team. I mean, I thought it will be much easier working with tech folks than working with a kitchen unit. But I realized that it's a different level of ball game totally over there. It was not like that you can build a product roadmap and they will deliver, right? So things go south always, right? So with tech team, things always go south. I mean, that's what I learned from my past experience at the context. Things always go south, and every tech person has a different kind of eccentricity, right? Someone who is new might take a lot of time to learn. might get lost in a lot of things. Right? Sometimes you will get frustrated why a certain product is not being, a certain set of features are not being deployed within a particular time frame, right? So, and the testing process of all of it is another huge challenge. So that's where a lot of things became clear that okay, tech working with tech folks is a different set of is a different beast in altogether. Rather than simplifying everything, you have to be a people's person again. With tech folks, you need to understand what their mindset is, how they want to take that product ahead, rather than giving them instructions that okay, this is the PRD and build this. This is a design. This is the PRD. I'll just build it the way I want it. That doesn't happen in any scenario, right? So
So if I
that's
could
where
ask, like,
yeah.
yeah, so if I could ask, what are some of the professional skills that you came across that you yourself developed and then saw like, okay, this is the potential, like for the, like, what are some of the professional skills that you thought were key to your success working with this, like people in the tech, from a background of tech?
So
Like
some
you
of the
said, people
professional
skills are
skills
really
that
important.
people skills, I
It
mean,
could be
people skills
anything.
are very important for any company. I think even if you're a CEO level who has like 500 to 1,000 employees, people skills is important. People need to feel that you have some kind of stake in the company, even though they have ESOPs or equity in the company or not. They need to feel they have some kind of skin in the game, right? And that doesn't happen if you are not connected with them. You need to be connected with them in one way or other. You cannot be a person who just mails to all the company and all the employees within the company and say, okay, this is what I expect with this month, and let everyone else take over, or let HR takes over, let the managers take over, right? So you need to be that people's person. And what I've learned is what best leaders do is that they know what's happening within the organization, right? Keeping the politics aside is one thing, because in any company which gets over 20 to 50 people, there's always politics, right? So you need to make sure that the politics is separate from what your decision making process is, right? So it has to be it has to be towards the business, the decision making process, rather than getting into emotional state and getting into political state within the company, right? So and that's where people's a person becomes very important. You need to know what's happening within the organization. You need to know how a person works, right? You need to know what their current mindset is. People might be going through some kind of shit within their life, and still they are showing up for the work and they are delivering, right? And and I mean, many people would like to get appreciated for the work. Many people would like to not get appreciated for the work. So again, there are two different kind of dynamics within an organization. Some people work hard if for money. Some people work hard for the appreciation. So everyone has a different set of sentiment for which they work. Like some people just do it out of love for the company. Some people will do it for the money which you are paying them, and you need to make sure that the organization sticks. You don't want to lose a lot of people every year, every month, and it does happen with a lot of organizations that even though they are well compensated, you lose for either for the money or either for wrong behavior within the organization or the politics. They get fed up of it. They lose their momentum, and that's how a lot of small companies fail, right? Apart from the top leadership not focusing on the product. So with respect to that, I mean, the skills which I learned was, I mean, people skills was something which I learned way back in my first startup itself. But the skills which I learned was about dealing with within the technology team, right? Dealing with the different sort of teams within an organization, making a collaborative approach rather than favoring one set of folks to other set of folks. The expectation settings has to be there. The expectations have to be managed within the different set of folks. The marketing folks will have a different set of matrix to judge a particular product. The technical folks will have a different set of matrix to judge the particular product, and you have to collaborate between everything. You have to collaborate within design, within tech, even tech. There's back and front and iOS, so you have to collaborate between all of those things, and then you have to collaborate between your market, and then there's your CTO, CEO level to whom you have to make sure that every update or every expectation is set right. Right, so you cannot over promise, under deliver. It's always have to be that you have to under promise and over deliver, right? So those kind of settings, a setup has to be there, and that's what I focused on mostly, learning more of my design skills, polishing those skills, UI skills, making sure that I'm able to test it out in the market. I did all kind of role hands-on, right from, apart from coding. Coding was something which I didn't want to touch after my college.
I understand, yeah.
I realized that okay, this is a different set of beast. It's better that I don't get into it. Uh, I like doing the business part of the thing, running operations. I didn't want to get involved into coding. Yeah.
On that topic, right? So if I could ask you, because it sort of seems like you care a lot about the culture that you work with. You care a lot about like, establishing a good culture and like learning from how people around you are working. So because you're hands-on in all the business aspects. So you have experience working as, in operations, working in human resources in a sense, working on specific products, bringing to market, working on the cycle, the whole life cycle of a product. And you learned all these skills by adapting to various like cultures. Like you set up a culture of your own at Rocket Food, and then after that you adapted to like a couple of different cultures as you worked in industry, and then from there you like obviously started your own like you co-founded your own business again, so you had your own culture set there. So I guess what I want to ask you is, for all like some of the viewers who are like young budding entrepreneurs, freshers out of college, like what is the importance of fitting in with a culture and like being willing to learn like sort of like the politics of a workplace, and also learning those managerial skills that come along with it?
Right. See, for any organization which wants to succeed, the culture has to be pretty much towards taking company ahead, right? Despite, we all are human beings, so there will be differences between every one of us. And there are a lot of ego issues between people. But again, you cannot solve that. You have to just take it from person to person. And it cannot be that you will just, if you don't like someone's ego, you will just fire them, right? So that doesn't make you a leader. Uh, for me, I think there are certain basic set of rules which you have to live by if you have to succeed. So you have to set the culture right. The culture, even as a CEO of the company, you are not the company. Company is bigger than you anytime, right? So that goes to everyone else. Any company is bigger than you. It's not just it's the vision of making a particular idea which you have in your mind to something really exponentially great, right? So that's what building a company is all about. And it cannot be just you. It has to be a effort of a lot of people. Some people you will like, some people you will not. But you have to make sure that everyone stays together in the same boat. Everyone knows what you want to achieve or what they want to achieve from the company, and then move ahead. So that's why right from the very beginning, you need to make sure that people who are joining the organization, whether it be your first employee to whether it would be your 100th employee, they understand what their role in the organization is, right? They know what they have to do. It cannot be that you can mix and match. Some people are generalists. I am a generalist, right? But even then, I know what my role within the organization is, what kind of decisions which I need to take, where I need to get my hand dirty, where I need to be on the road and taking the feedback, right? So people need to know what their roles are within the organization. People need to know what your vision is, and you need to know as a leader that what their vision is. Their vision might not match with you, right? So their vision can be very different, and they have a very different set of thinking, right? So and you need to listen to them. It cannot be that you can have your my way or highway kind of scenario. So you need to listen to them. Maybe I mean, most of the time there are idea sets which they come up with you, which you will even not think of, right? So uh, what I do generally is I listen to all of them. So every month I do have one-on-one with everyone in the organization. Listen to their feedback, about even that being about me. So what I've told them is, even if you feel like somewhere I am going wrong with, let's say, product marketing or design, you just need to tell them, come forth and tell them, I'm not the person who's going to fire you. I mean, there are a lot of folks who will just fire you, right? And how can you go against me? I'm the boss. I know everything. You are just employee in the company. I don't do that kind of thing. So what I like to do is listen to people. Make sure they are able to uh, even vent it out. If I have done something wrong, they're able to vent it out that, okay, these are the things which you did wrong. So there's a feedback loop which is there, which is very necessary, and that goes for even between me and my co-founder, that we always have a monthly review of each other, and we give each other feedback that this is where I think you were wrong, this is where I think you did great, and this is where I think you can improve. And he does the same to me, right? So and that's something which we all have to keep in mind. It's not that you're running a business and you have raised funds and you have become great, right? So I don't believe that I have achieved anything in life at this point of time. Even though I would love to do that, but I have not achieved it. Like I mean, everyone has a different set of expectations, right? So I have a different set of expectation for me. I consider myself failure because to be very honest, what things which I wanted to achieve by age of 30, I am very far away from that. Right. So I'm very far away. It's like I will take another 10 years to achieve those. And I thought it can be done in a very small time frame. But now with maturity, I realize that, okay, this is something a 10-year roadmap rather than having a 2-year roadmap. So I've realized a lot of those things which I have. So yeah, uh, the constant feedback loop is what has helped me and what has helped my team to grow and take it from strength to strength.
Yeah, it seems like you value checks and balances and making sure that you're grounded. Like every decision is sort of grounded. Like you can, I see that you like value the feedback of having like cyclical natures. You believe that everything sort of works in a cycle. That things progress and then at times they regress and then they progress further. And it depends on like what
It's
decisions
always
were
a
made at
cycle. So
certain
I will
points
be
in
very
times.
honest. It's always a cycle. Whether it be life or whether it be business, it's always a cycle. So it's important to take feedback from people. Even I keep one meeting with my existing investors, and even with my friends. A lot of my friends are into startup. They're building their own startup. Have raised funds. So getting perspective from them, getting ideas from them, I do that a lot. I bounce those ideas and see if that will work out. So getting a constant feedback is very necessary.
So let me ask you a bit like about like your experience, right? When you were working as an employee at iStart Rajasthan, which like you speak as if you haven't succeeded at anything or you haven't got all these accomplishments under your belt. But in my belief, like in my perspective, for example, you've been extremely successful for the amount of time that you've like spent. I believe you deserve all the successes you have, and obviously they'll continue in the future. But speaking about your last stint as an employee, right? In the sort of sense, like you were working at iStart Rajasthan. It's a flagship program, for startups by the government of Rajasthan. So this is this is a really fitting role for an entrepreneur like you that wants to again settle back into their own culture, but they also want to help other people develop theirs. So can you just walk me through how you found this role and like how you were able to crack it, in fact, to like secure such a role
Right.
at that point in
So
your career?
yeah. So for the first thing, I mean, I still haven't. I I don't consider. I mean, Matrix can be different for us, but the only success which I had is getting my hair gray at this point of time. So there's a lot of hair. So, I have.
Okay.
Apart from that, I don't think so any other achievement I have. So if you go into anime, white hair guys are the beasts, right? You don't fight. So I mean, I am working
Okay.
towards that with my white hair. That's the only achievement I have. Anyway, so with respect to iStart, um, so iStart came right before. I mean, the opportunity came right before COVID.
Okay.
I mean, it was a very uh, tornado experience, if you'll call it. How I got into it. I knew folks who were working with the government of Rajasthan uh, as a consultant. So um, they were looking at me as a potential person who comes in and transforms ISTA Rajasthan, because it's not just policy making which is there. It's also about making sure that you are providing right set of information to the startups which are incubated over there, right? And you are able to guide them apart from policy and apart from the tech, right? So coming from a tech background, so having worked in a startup, having built my own startup and having worked in tech startups, that gave me a kind of leverage to get into it, where I was able to impress upon the government officials that okay, I can lead iStart, and that's why I got my role with iStart Rajasthan. The uh, I mean, iStart Rajasthan was just what different set of things, right? So you are working with the technology team over there, you are working with startups over there, you are working with government officials over there, right? And you have to make sure that you are able to manage all three aspects of it, apart from the policy making which you do for the government, which is already there. So um, and one of the major things, I joined it in January, mid of January, and in March, end of March, I think COVID lockdown happened in 2020, right? So
Yeah.
so that's why I'm saying it was kind of tornado experience. So I worked with around 25 startups which was there. So there were 108 startups which were incubated. I was working
Okay.
with 25 startups, all in different domains. Someone was in agri-tech, fintech. So everyone has a different set of businesses which were there. So I was working with all of them, making sure that the tech which they are building is right. So that's where my experience as being a product manager and taking their product from zero to customers is very important. And that's where my experience of being an entrepreneur came in. Apart from that, with respect to policy making, again, I knew what as a founder I expect uh, from 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 the government, from the users, right? So the policy has to be more specifically inclined towards the startup rather than being a governmental policy, right? So many
Okay.
times governmental policy is not very much inclined towards startup. It's more of a middle ground for the government, right? Which where uh, they they want to be least involved but most involved kind of thing, right? So uh, wanted to make sure that it's a bit tilted to a startup. They're able to take the benefits of working under a government, so which means that they're able to have make connections with people, connections with other businesses, connection with investors. So those and having those events, right? Events where they can showcase their businesses to people, because as a government organization you have that power that you can organize a state level fest, and you can you can literally put out your product to 10 thousands of people at the same time, right? So that's the kind of power which you have. So again, so making sure that it was an approach tilted bit towards the startup, uh, and making sure that the technology was in sound and safe, and we are willing to take it um, uh, to uh, to the masses. But again, when COVID hit, things went totally haphazard.
Yeah.
So a lot of for every one of us, it was a new experience, right? So the businesses which were totally dependent on being on the road all the time. I mean, they did just fine.
Hmm.
If you have to live inside your house and you have to start looking at tech, right, to take your
Hmm.
business to the people. So a lot of things changed from that point on. So had to make sure that they're able to hire during that point of time. Hiring went
Yeah.
crazy during that time. There were a lot of VC money was deployed, so hiring went crazy at that point of time. So you have to make sure that these businesses first survive, uh, uh, to make sure that they at least come out of it, right? So that was one. Number two was that at least make sure that they transition from a non-tech company to a tech company, right? And
Hmm.
whatever tech company is working and how they can take their product to the mass, will get their product to the masses now, since there's a lockdown. So it was a different set of
Hmm.
challenges which happened during that time, and there was a lot of since we're working on the DOIT, the D parts come under Department of Information and Technology and Communication,
Technology.
right?
Hmm.
The communication part was
Okay.
also there. So there was intergovernmental communication which was always happening. So you have to be part of it. Despite everyone
Okay.
living at home, you have to go to office every
Mhm.
day, right? So I mean, those were the
Okay.
different set of challenges. I mean, I will be very honest. Uh, I was a bit fearful of for
Hmm.
myself during that time. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a very honest confession. I saw a lot of people die across the world. I mean, the news
Yeah,
was
man. I
literally
mean, it
the news
was one of the
were
worst
pretty depressing.
pandemics.
Yeah, the news was
Yeah.
it was the first pandemic which we came across, right? So the news
Yeah,
was
that
pretty much
affected us. Yeah.
depressing. The news was pretty much depressing, and I was fearful for my life at a certain point that someone is getting COVID, getting into hospital, and I was like, okay, it, I can be the next person. But
Hmm.
or fortunately, I didn't get COVID during first wave. Second wave, I got COVID during third wave, right?
Okay,
And
so
that
you
too
still
twice.
did get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it, but I got
Twice.
it.
Okay.
I got it twice in
Yeah,
the third
that
wave.
can
But
leave. Hmm.
third wave was I'm again I was lucky because during third wave COVID was not I mean we all most of us had vaccinations,
I
and
mean, yeah,
third
COVID
wave
had
was
some pretty bad like consequences. I don't think I luckily did get COVID, but I mean, hey, you made it through two bouts of COVID, man. I mean, talk about resoluteness, right? Like you got to move on through this stuff. So, well, yeah, COVID was pretty bad. I mean, it must have affected your mindset as well. Like, is that one of the reasons why you decided, okay, now's the time to again take another step forward in my career and then maybe start building something of my own? For example, you started out with DAOstruct, right? Which you, as you said, is like a marketplace for DAOs. Um, you advertise it as sort of like the Bloomberg of DAO, right? This is a very trendy like sort of way, and it's also a way to connect to people who are in traditional finance to show them, okay, like, look, this is like we're creating a parallel sort of structure which you can also use to like manage your investments, et cetera, et cetera. So around this COVID time period and post COVID, like how was this transition for you to like start creating the idea for DAO and building it?
so I will tell you since this COVID first wave second wave happened during iStart, I was looking
Hmm.
to I mean I realized that it's a pretty much right time to get back
Hmm.
into learning once again, right?
Hmm.
So higher education was something I was looking at. So I did my UCLA right during COVID.
Okay.
In order to
Hmm.
make sure that I don't lose a lot of time once the world starts getting back to what it is right now, but back to
Hmm.
normality. So I did my UCLA, but like I said, I still always wanted to build my own venture. It was all about when I take that next step, rather than do I want to take the next step or not, right? So it was more towards yeah, okay, I have done enough. I have done one business. I have learned whatever I need to learn. I mean, there was still a lot of learning left, but whatever set of things which I wanted to learn, is that good enough for me? The answer was yes.
Hmm.
So then the question was, what do you want to build, and from where do you want to build? So then
Hmm.
I shifted to Bangalore, right?
Hmm.
Because again, what we believe within my community at least, within my friend circle that this is the next 20 years, 30 years is what will define India, right? And this is the best time to be in India and build from India for the world. So, and we always wanted to do that. Right from 2015, we wanted to do that. I mean, 2014, we wanted to do that. And we realized it's the right opportunity to build from India for the world. Because everyone I met was very high on India, is very high on India at this point of time. So that's where I wanted to get into building again. I didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do, so I gave it a lot of thought. Uh, what I want to build, do I want to build, get into SaaS, fintech, and Web3 was growing a lot at that point of time. I mean,
Yeah.
I was learning Web3, doing my courses and all to know, I mean, what I am getting into. And I had to make a decision whether I stick to Web2 and or I get into Web3. So I mean, it was a hard choice. Hard choice in the sense that you have to take a hard pivot from what you know to getting into something unknown, right? So that's where I decided that okay, if I look at from a perspective of a journeyman who has to be into a business for next 10 to 15 years, what's the next thing should I get into? Whether I build a Web2 startup or get into a Web3 startup. So we talk to a lot of people who are building Web3 to Web2 fintech, SaaS, and talk to a lot of Web3 folks who are building Web3 products, and did my own research as to how people are visioning it, how the market leaders or thought leaders are looking at it, and realized that okay, this is something which I can get into for next 10 to 15 years and build a lot of business into. It was a very hard pivot from Web2 to Web3, and then once I decided that it was about again learning that cycle again. That okay, there are a lot of things which I don't know. I didn't know what the hardware wallet is, what the private keys are, right? So
Yeah.
I had no idea about it. So had to get into it, learned from a lot of YouTube videos, which was there, learned, was listening to the spaces a lot of a lot of people building their cool products. A lot of rug pulls were also a part of it, where uh, into FOMO I invested and I got rug pulled.
Yeah.
So again, that was again an experience at that point. So yeah, that was the choice which I made, and my co-founder, like I said, I met him while working with the e-commerce firm. He was also living in Bangalore, so I was meeting him a lot, and I was looking to learn from him basically because he has been into Web3 from last 3 years, right? So he had more experience than me, and he knew the industry much better than me. So I was just a noob at that point of time. So I started engaging with him, and then a lot of ideas was discussed. Nothing concrete came out of it, and um, uh, with the help of him, I got into NFTs, and NFTs were blowing at that point of time, right? So
Yeah.
every week, everyone was launching a whitelist, and people were spending a lot of money. So I got into NFTs and I got into DAOs at that point of time. So there I realized that okay, there is a gap. There's a gap in NFTs. There's a gap in DAOs. So a lot of discussion started with how can we build a product on NFTs which can help users, which can solve some genuine problems over there, right? So the conversation started from there, and then uh, it ended up with DAOstruct. So the basic idea of DAOstruct came from the point that as a user, I'm not able to have important data points to make an informed choice, right? So if you look at NFT and DAO as a whole, right? So there were a lot of rug pulls. There's not a right information there for a retail investor to make a choice whether I want to be invested in this, whether I want to get into this or not, right? So it was more of a FOMO which was being created by everyone, and people were buying into that FOMO without any data that's backing it up, right? So that's where the idea came in that, okay, why don't we build a trusted platform which has data points to back up the actions which we have? And that's where the idea of DAOstruct was born. The discovery of DAOs was a huge challenge at that point of time. Even at this point in time, there from what we believe, there are over 100K DAOs at this point of time, right? But every DAO is scattered over there from one chain or another, and most of them are in closed ecosystem with no data points that's been provided to the user, right? So it's a bit of hard work because you are getting into an industry where you have to scratch the surface in order to just to get relevant points. So that's where the point discovery with discovery of DAO with along with the necessary information, necessary actionable data points to back it up was born. And then we expanded it to a point that, okay, what more can be built around it? So then the vision came in that why don't we build a complete ecosystem, right? A complete ecosystem means we start from discovery, but it then transforms into a marketplace, right? The marketplace where you can discover DAOs, you can invest into DAOs, you can participate in DAOs, right? So that's one point. Then the second point is community. Since you're getting into all the DAOs, you can build your own core community, and that community then can help with DAO Launchpad. So as a community, as a DAO, you as community, as a user, channel user, you can build your own DAO, right? So marketplace, launchpad, and community. These three complete the whole circle of what we are looking to build, and that's where the grander vision was that build an ecosystem that of DAOs rather than just building one marketplace and launchpad and leaving it up to the users.
So that's interesting. So you started, you developed the idea over time, obviously, as your expertise also increased. And, you cultivated the vision of, okay, we're going to create a marketplace with a sense of community so that it's inclusive and so that, we can basically like have people who are pro users, and then we can have people who are also just, sort of like dabbling in this sort of like domain. We can have them all come together and like experiment with their own products, et cetera, et cetera. That's interesting. So that's sort of the vision. Like now, how do you bring this vision into reality by learning from people like you said, your co-founder already had some experience working in this industry. So how do you sort of like bring in the experience from like, learning from people who are already in the domain, and also realizing that we can't become overly ambitious when creating a product like this? Like we have to be realistic about what can be achieved in the space at the time.
And at that point in time, it's already ambitious of what we are doing. Right? But again, so being grounded in reality is something which you have to do. And we are experiencing it. So generally, we would have got a lot of data points, and we could have launched the marketplace in 10, 15 days, and that's been great, right? But we are still recovering a lot of data points from on-chain and off-chain, and then building our own DB. So that gives you a reality check that, okay, this is not something easy which you have to build. But again, the whole ideas that with DAOstruct is built comes from Laura Wing, actually. So in Laura Rings, we have a Sauron, right? And he built one ring to rule them, all the other rings, right? So that's where DAOstruct is, one platform for everything and anything related to DAO, right? So whether it be discovery, whether it be marketplace or launchpad or community, everything is there on DAOstruct. If you want to register your DAO, we have partners. If you want to do your own token, we have partners. So anything and everything related to DAOs is one platform, one terminal for everything related to DAO. So that's where the Sauron analogy that comes in, right? So and that's where the Bloomberg for DAOs even comes in. Yeah. So we wanted to mold it something like Bloomberg again, because if you look at Bloomberg terminal and as a investor or trader, you don't have to go to any other platform, right? So they have all the important data points, they have all the news, and everything which you want as a every actionable data points which you want is there on Bloomberg. So you log in from morning and you leave it at night, right? If you're a day trader, you don't need to be. I mean, you don't need to go to another platform, and that's where the vision is that as a DAOstruct user, you don't need to go to another platform. You just need to be on one platform. That's DAOstruct, and that's where the journey is at this point of time. With respect to expertise, yes, Utkarsh, my co-founder, has a lot of expertise with respect to being into Web3. He worked with neobanking Web3 company, so has experience with those, and he is a degen, right? So he is very much into NFT, DAOs, and all the spaces. And due to him,
Right on.
I had to do a lot of degening as well, getting into a lot of NFTs, buying into those NFTs, getting into those communities, learning from those communities, and knowing what these communities want, right? So and how these
Yeah.
communities are evolving. Also lost a lot of money, to be very honest.
Is
over
that
there.
well, I would say in this space, I guess that sort of constitutes market research, right? Really dipping your toes into it, becoming a bit of a degenerate. I feel like, what do you think market research in this sort of domain is? Like, what does it encapsulate? I feel like it encapsulates what you're describing right now.
I mean, to be very honest, the market research is being on Twitter 24/7. Market research is being on Discord active 24/7, and market research is being on Telegram active 24/7. That's what constitutes as market research in the other. If you're any other platform, you'll bought into the hype, right? But if even on these two platforms, you can be bought into the hype, but at least they bring you back to the reality, right? So for the market research, this is what we did. I did being into Twitter Spaces from 9 o'clock at night to morning 5 or 6 o'clock, listening to what everyone is talking about, right? Listening to what everyone is looking at in every project. So I mean, you get lost in Discord. To be very honest, I got lost in Discord and I had to take a break at least. I took 2 months break because I got FOMO and I got anxiety issues due to that. But okay, I'm missing out on a lot of things. I have to be active over here. I have to be active over there.
Yeah.
And it was the first few months at least. I was totally into FOMO, and then I realized that okay, I need to take a break. It's getting on my nerves, and the anxiety is getting very high. So let's take a break from here. I uninstalled my Discord, but I still kept listening to what everyone is talking on Twitter, what everyone is talking on Telegram, and interacted with them a lot. Put in my set of ideas, validated it from there. Because see, if there's a Twitter space going on and there are around 200, 400, 500 folks over there, and you're presenting your idea sets to them, you get a kind of validation that okay, what they are thinking on this particular idea, and you get a lot of positive and negative reviews around it, and people will point out what mistakes can happen, and people will point out to you that okay, what good can come out of this particular idea. So yeah, that was a kind of market research which happened, to be very honest. And with respect to what we did with DAOstruct, we got into a lot of DAOs, right? So got into their Discord channels, bought a lot of DAO tokens, got into the Discord channels, and started talking to these people. Floated a few forms over there that okay, what do you think the problem set is as a core member of DAO, as just a holder of the DAO, or just as a community member without holding any tokens? What do you think the problem set is for you, right? And from there on, collected a lot of information. Then bounced those ideas with a lot of thought leaders within the space on Twitter as well. So it was kind of a loop which we created. Take feedback on Discord, and then talk to each other, bring those ideas together, and then put it out in the world in Twitter spaces. and you get those
Back to the
feedback. You get
loops.
very
Yeah.
honest feedback, very honest feedback.
Hmm.
Either people will call you out that this is bullshit, or people will say, okay,
Yeah.
this is something that's going to be big, right? So got those feedbacks from those people, and it was very interesting those few months. And they're on zero with the idea that, okay, um, this is what we can build. Data points was again, which we realized was an issue. And even people told us
Right.
that, okay,
So
relevant points are
coming to
our
the
biggest issue.
yeah, so coming to your data point, sort of like it feels like this is one of the constraints when you're building your MVP as such, right? Like how did the market research and then obviously the implementation of the data points like bring about your MVP? So how did you go about creating an MVP as such?
So DAOstruct is divided into three parts, if you look at it.
Hmm.
One is discovery, one is invest, and one is participate, right?
Hmm.
And there are different platforms built for that, but there is no cohesive unit which joins all three, right? So the MVP was the idea was pretty simple. Uh, People are already doing participation in different set of projects which are there. So why don't we first start building with discovery platform and start giving people with the relevant data points? At least make a list directory of 250 to 500 DAOs, give the relevant data points to people and see how it works out, how a user responds to that, right? So that's what we did, with our first version one of the product. We listed around 500 DAOs. We scraped the internet. We went into these DAOs and got those information relevant data points as to and the relevant data points were who are the majority of the voters, who are the active participants, who are the non-active participants, who are the whales within that particular community, who holds maximum leverage within that community, what are the financials of the particular DAO, and how it has done in last 1 month, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years down the line, and give them those actionable insights, so as to a user, and who are the leaders with that organization, right? And what their background is, because that becomes important. If someone has done a rug pull, it's more likely than not they are going to rug pull you again, right? So make sure
Yeah.
that important relevant action points are there, and give people a choice whether they want to get into it or not. And also we started doing a lot of content around it, going to
Okay.
all these DAOs, uh, getting their core members on board, doing Twitter spaces with them, asking them questions, doing AMA with them, so that one, as a user, you get those information, and you are able to talk to them one on one. So did a lot of Twitter spaces. We started writing articles about those DAO, and doing a deep dive into it. So that was the MVP which we started with, discovery and knowledge of, and slowly it expanded into participation, and we have aggregated around. At this point, we have around 20,000 DAOs on our platform, and it will expand up
Okay.
to 35,000 DAOs in next 2 weeks. We have aggregated 500 governance protocols under one umbrella, so you can participate in any type of governance on our platform. And then in next 1.5 months, we're looking to do the invest part. The challenge over here was to get actionable insights from a lot of DAOs, because it becomes a very hard process. A lot of DAOs don't have on-chain data, so you have to go into a Discord, raise a ticket, reach to the right people, and then get those data points and then verify those data points, right? So
Yeah.
that becomes a challenge with a lot of DAOs.
That's a
And
process.
if
Yeah.
it's on chain, then you can always pull that data out. That's the easy part. But if it's not, then you have to go through this long process, and it takes a
Yeah,
lot
when
of
you're
time.
talking about the volume that you have, like 20,000 plus, I mean, the percentages of the people that will be on chain, the percentage of the people that will be off chain, even if you have all the on chain data, it's still a very time consuming process. I think one of the most time consuming processes to validate them before
And
you can allow
also
them access to your platform.
we look at DAOs, and it's we I mean we don't look at DAOs in its current shape, but we look at DAOs in its future in entirety, right? So communities at this point of time will evolve into DAO, right? So and, I mean, not at least in bear market, but in next bull cycle, we are expecting a lot of communities to move from just the community to a DAO. Give that power back to people uh, with respect to decision making, right? A lot of organizations will decentralize, and a lot of these DAOs will become sub DAOs, right? So there's a whole lot of things that's going to happen in next 5 years. And also we are talking about a whole decentralized world, a nation, a network states. That's the conversation that's going on. So a lot of DAOs, sub DAOs are going to be created in next 5 to 10 years, uh, and that's where the market is really. And to be very honest, uh, infra layer, infrastructure is one thing which is going to be decentralized a lot. So that's where we are looking at it. That okay, a lot of real estate players are going to tokenize it, and how do you tokenize it, right? One of the examples which we have is of Links DAO. Links DAO have bought their own real estate, which is a golf course in Scotland, right? And they're again buying one in US.
Tokenized ownership.
Yeah, so that's the tokenized ownership we're looking at. Fractionalized ownership of hotels, which we are looking at. A company called D Hotels have tokenized a hotel in Portugal. So that's the kind of future we are looking at. And with Dubai opening up as a hub, Singapore opening as a hub, we are looking at a lot of real estate players getting into it. So and that will make it one of the biggest economies, which is to DAIs and DASs and DAOs in future.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting conversation, but it becomes it's sort of like it's very speculative right now, and I kind of wanted to draw on that, like, and talk about sort of like the finance that you have secured for DAOstruct, right? So you've obviously had to pitch to like various funds, and you did secure the funding from 100x, for example. So congratulations on that, by the way, because securing investment is always like, and no matter what level you're at, what stage you're at, securing investment is always like you have to be very directed in your approach. So if you could walk me through sort of like what type of business model, what type of idea you pitched to 100x that sort of resonated with them, and they looked at your future and they said, yes, this is definitely like one of the keys to unlocking Web3 and like the surrounding DAOs.
Right. So from our perspective and from 100's perspective, what we both envision in future is decentralization. And I and my co-founder are high on it, and even Underdeck's team is very much high on it. And we are both teams believe that decentralization is the future, and it's going to pan out. If the bear market would not have hit, a lot of things would have changed, and a lot of things have changed due to bear market, with a lot of companies, centralized exchanges that have failed. People have realized that okay, decentralization is going to be the future, and you cannot stop it. What a lot of folks across the world are waiting, or VCs or folks, if you say they are waiting for government regulations to come in, have some kind of clarity from governments across the world, so that they can dive deep into it. But they are going to dive into it. So it's just a wait and watch game for them. What 100x liked about us, I mean, we raised pre-seed from them, so we didn't have any product in hand. There was just a website and a pitch deck which we have in hand, and we had a very ambitious pitch deck, if we can say, because we didn't want to just again the idea was just not to build a marketplace layer. We want to capture the ecosystem which is there. So which means that we want to, our platform should enable DAOs to trade on the platform, to participate on the platform, to build DAOs on our platform, and then raise funds again from the community, directly from a platform, right? So we wanted to build a whole ecosystem and capture the ecosystem which is already there. And that's something which we believe is very ambitious and will take a lot of hard work to achieve it first. And
if
investors
I could, if I could, how do you prove the capability to execute such like if you're basically saying like, yo, we're gonna have this platform and it's gonna involve the entire community around this space. So how do you prove the capability to execute such a platform?
Right. So when we went to 100x, we already built a community of 2,500 folks, right, who who believed
Okay.
into the decentralization, right? And we had a lot of feedback from the DAOs itself, and these are the core committee members to the people who are not holding DAO tokens, right? So there are three different layers of people which we had interviewed and taken a feedback from. So and that's where the capability comes in, where we were able to put forward a team which is capable to lead, to develop, and to market it, right? Uh, 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 get the right informations which are necessary for us to convince the investors, because again it's not something that we went there and they were like, okay, this is something we believe and we are going to invest, right? You went with the right points, the surveys which were there, and how well we can do it and how fast we can do it, right? So that was the whole game plan, and since we already built a community, we were able to back it up.
All right. So yeah, it's sort of interesting when you speak about community, like especially when you talk about like a tech field such as this, where it's at times you're not sure of who is truly capable and who is just putting on airs of capability, right? Especially when you yourself are building your own community and you're building your own team to manage, right? So can you share like sort of the basic like fundas and like essential like communications that help you attract the proper talent to work with on a like a product like this?
Absolutely, yes. So, one of the very first things which we mentioned when we float a JD, or when we are out in the market and talking to people to hire, uh, we talk about things like accountability and ownership, right? So, for me, accountability and ownership matters a lot. If you need to, I mean, you have to be active and proactive rather than a reactionary person, right? So, and this is what I learned very early in my career, that if you are a reactive person, then you will be firefighting a lot, right? If you're a proactive person, then you can envision that and you can do away with those firefighting beforehand, and then move ahead. So as a proactive person, you can achieve a lot more than being a reactive person, right? So and that's what we want our people to be. Want to make sure that they respect accountability, and they respect that we are giving them the freedom that they want. We don't want to push you into a work from office all the time. You don't need to be. I mean, you don't need to be in office day in day out, working 10 to 7, 10 to 9 day every day, and prove it to ourselves. It's about you proving it to yourself that, okay, we are looking to do this. Can you get it done? If yes, yes, why not? Be on our team. And the culture of ownership, it becomes important to us. Um, we collectively sit down every month and decide that, okay, this is what we are going to do this month. This is what we expect from the technology team, and they tell us what they can deliver. It's not like we tell them that what
So
you
in a
can deliver.
sense, you're establishing like a cycle of research and development, like in some sense, right? Like you're giving them like certain like objectives, and they have to be not only achieving those objectives, they also have to look at it from their own perspective and see what can we develop in terms of this. How can we
I
develop this
mean,
further?
they give us their feedback. We tell that. I mean, we don't even post them. We tell that, okay, this is what we did last month. Uh, we do have a roadmap as to a product roadmap for a year already defined. But tell us what we can build at this point in time, given this is the feedback we got from the community, what we can deliver in within particular week, particular month, and that's how we work towards the future. And we experiment a lot with respect to our content. The content team is doing really great, taking our content to the market, bringing the right people on our podcast, on our Twitter Spaces, and making sure that we are taking it to the we are making sure that we are making enough and the right noises with respect to the thought leaders and the market, right? So yeah, again, ownership is important, and being the and we also tell them that you can make mistakes. A lot of times, what happens is a lot of startups, a lot of people get bogged down because they know that they made mistakes, or they are not uh, they didn't do something right, and they feel guilty about it. So I mean, it's okay to make mistakes. You make mistake, you correct it, you move ahead. Don't just think on it and bog yourself down. So these are important things when you are building a right culture and right team from the very start.
Hmm. I agree. Like, yeah, having like a team that, like, like you said, the culture needs to be established and everyone needs to take their own ownership. And on top of that, that way people stay more driven towards, like, developing the product as well, because they feel more involved, they feel more active in the roles. So when it, just to sort of wrap up, like how you would define such a product and bring it to market, like what are some of the features that you oftentimes see like as being a part of the product, but then you realize through your feedback loops, like especially through marketing and like the sort of Discord communities that you were involved in, how did you come to realize that certain features are don't like they're not a part of the product, they won't bring as much to the product as you had hoped for, and you then again realistically you can't implement this like within a certain time frame, so you save them for later, or you don't make them an active part of the product? Are there any such features that you came across?
Oh yes, I mean we have scraped a lot of features which was there in the initial set of idea ways, and the current roadmap has been defined, redefined, and refined a lot many times
Hmm.
than what generally I expected to hope. Right. So from the very onset, if you look at it, you look at okay, there's a roadmap already defined for here. Let's work on it.
Hmm.
But when you get into the market, or when you talk to even to the tech team, they give you the mirror and say, okay, this is what's going to happen. So yeah, there have been a lot of features. So like I will say, um, the addition has been that okay, from the market feedback, the addition has been that okay, there needs to be a sentimental analysis of the users, which should be there. There should be market analysis and sentimental analysis with respect to market
Hmm.
analysis, right, and with respect to the voters and the users on the platform. So
Yeah.
that needs to be there. People want features like whales reporting. So who's the particular whale, who holds a lot of weightage in that particular DAO, and how their wallet looks like and on which they're moving, because they want to get invested into those DAOs very early, right? So and with respect to core DAO members, they want to influence these whales and bring them to their own DAOs. That brings them a lot of royalty, a lot of treasury into the business, and give they want to look at it. So these are the features which were
Hmm.
requested by us, a lot of features which was dumped by us initially. I mean, we wanted to uh, do, uh, I mean, not analysis, but we wanted to do a very deep dive into how these DAOs were built and what their initial roadmap was. But people are not interested in that. They are more interested in who has built it and what kind of information or content we can provide around the particular DAO or around the particular set of folks, right? So that's where
Yeah.
the importance of doing a Twitter space or doing a content series around it makes sense. So and a lot of actionable points that okay, uh, if who has floated the proposal, or what number of proposals they have floated, who has been active part of these proposals, who is just sitting there in his wallet, holding those tokens in the wallet, has not been active participant, and can how can we reward these active folks in DAOs, right? And that has been a biggest challenge at this point in time. One is participation, and one is activeness of these users. So uh, and we are looking to make sure that we are working with a lot of team Polygon DAO team.
Hmm.
We are working with them to resolve all these issues. So a lot of
Hmm.
communities have been really helpful to us, and even
Hmm.
they are giving us the feedback. Okay, this is what you need to add on-chain interaction, push notifications, and all this is all you need to add. And we get and that makes sure that we are able to tap into these user bases very easy.
Hmm. Yeah, and I feel like the community is very fluid. So like when like in certain products, you like differentiate very clearly between investors, your internal team, users, possible vendors in the future. But when it comes to something like this, you're looking at people who can become users and who are users currently might become investors in the future, or like because in a sense you're creating a product that is supposed to support other products in the same ecosystem, and you're developing something so that everyone else can also develop around you. So you're like an anchor in a sense, and you're sort of having all these branches open up from you. And I would bring it back to like some sort of Lord of the Rings analysis where you have like you're like the root tree, and then everything sort of branches out from you. So you're establishing yourself as not just someone that other people should be looking at as, okay, this is an investment opportunity for us, because a lot of people, like a lot of degens in this like space, look at it, okay, this is purely an investment opportunity for me, I'm going to short this, or I'm going to like take advantage of this while it's in its like in its bullish run, and then boom, I'm out of here, right? This is sort of the mentality that people have, but you're changing that mentality by bringing people into like realizing that, okay, this is an entire community that we're forming, so people should be involved in this community for the sake of it, and then you'll see that the products developed here are valuable to everyone, and there's many facets to it. And that in itself is like the perfect approach, I believe, especially in a domain like this.
I mean, everyone
So
wants
yeah,
to
we've
have transparency of data on our platform.
yeah
So yeah, and that's what most of the DAOs are looking.
yeah, they value like, okay, who is behind these projects, or who is behind like this DAO, and like how much can I like support this myself? Like, it's not so much like an ethical issue for these people. It's more of like is this some form of like, financial backing like that I can, provide for myself in the near future as well.
And people also look at DAOs as safer investment options than NFTs
Yeah.
and even most of the tokens which we have in the market. And that can be only packed if we have a lot of data transparency in the ecosystem. So that's why I said this.
Yeah.
The feedbacks were pretty much important, where they wanted actionable data points. They wanted those transparency, which is there on the platform,
Hmm.
and that's where uh, these users of this particular DAO, they want to use our platform in order to get those right data points, those transparency within the ecosystem. And that's where I think it's going to evolve very much. The rewarding system, uh, because again, if it stems from that, if you are someone who is, let's take for a normal organization itself. If you are someone
Hmm.
who is working hard, you want to get rewarded, right? Either you get
Yeah.
rewarded by money, or someone praises you. You want to have that, right? So that's where the transparency is very important. Where the treasury is going, where who are the active members, and they want to get rewarded for that. Either they get extra tokens, or they get some kind of rewards. It's with respect to being very active and getting the job done within a DAO. Well, let's be honest, DAOs are a bit of stuck at this point of time because they are not able to
Yeah.
move a way ahead.
And I feel like it's also because of the sentiment, right? Like NFTs, for example, like when they came out, there was it was like sort of this bubble, post-COVID bubble, like, okay, this is an investment opportunity. This is a unique asset, blah, blah, blah. People, and then when all of these sort of scams, if I could call them, happened, right? People lost the trust in this. Like whenever you're investing your own, like, hard-earned cash or your own money in some form, people want to be investing in something trustworthy. So I feel like the shift towards DAOs and a little like separation between NFTs and DAOs is also sort of essential, because you're realizing we're creating a platform, especially when you're creating a platform for such DAOs, you're trying to treat this as a new investment opportunity rather than like a recurrence of just, going through the cycle of, yeah, this is the sort of phase right now we're going through. So you should be investing in this just because this is where everyone's putting their head at. You want this to become something standardized in a sense that even though this is like it's based on a decentralized concept, you need some sort of standardization. That's just how I think the investor's mindset works. So you want to move like these NFT things really, I feel like
Because
it
people,
just caused a
and
bit of a mess.
yeah, and adding the people after the all the scandals that have happened in last one
Mm,
and a half year with CFIs just breaking up, people want to
yeah.
be a bit sure of where the money is, right? They don't want to be just investing in uh, whatever that FOMO is going there. So I mean that's where most. I mean I'm not talking about agents, but I'm talking about the retail investors at this point. They want some kind of security within the crypto ecosystem, and at least the platforms, they will have to provide some kind of security to them. If you are not backing it up, at least provide them the right set of tools within your platform so that they can secure their funds. Otherwise, again, this cycle will continue. People will invest, bull cycle will come, it will go down, and then a lot of people will lose their money. I mean, after FTX, a lot of people lost, I mean, their whole properties and the whole savings
I mean,
which
we're
they have
talking
in
billions
their
of
life,
dollars.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's a
some
massive
people
amount.
committed suicide. Yeah, some people committed suicide, which shouldn't happen.
So could I ask you, like, does this influence your marketing strategies in any sense? Like, how do you create this balancing act of, yes, we have a secure product and it's to be but it's also sort of speculative in the sense that we're bringing on other products that we are, confirming are legitimate for you. So how does this influence your marketing strategies?
I mean, it does. So one, we don't want to. I mean, we don't want rug pulls to happen from our platform. So we are making sure that whatever. I mean, what we're doing is it's not live on the platform, but it will be live soon. So what we are doing is we are doing verified versus non-verified DAOs, right? Verified DAOs are ones which have on-chain treasury, and their treasury has been validated. They are there in the market for some point of time. Transactions have taken place. The founders have been validated. Uh, and their roadmap is there, and they are following the roadmap. So these DAOs are getting the verified blue tick mark. I mean, we are not being Elon Musk by asking them to pay $8 for all this, but we are doing it for free, at least for now. Let's hope so.
The model is still, it has its benefits.
I mean, Facebook is also doing it.
Yeah.
So maybe in future, why not? Not $8, but let's say $2 per month. Right? But and jokes apart. So we are giving them verified versus non-verified badge so that we can the investors can differentiate between these two, and we are looking to make sure that we can add maximum data points which is there on the platform. So that's why you will see there is an option called report a problem on every DAO page, right? So DAO information page. So if you're, let's say, a user of on-chain monkey or bankless DAO, and you feel that certain information is not right, you can connect a wallet. The wallet verifies that okay, you are part of this DAO, and then you can report that particular issue, that this information is wrong, this information is right. So you can do that on our platform. So these kind of certain actions items which we're taking, we're also removing any DAOs which are doing abnormal activities, like having added like 100K users within 7 days. That's not going to happen without you paying those people, or because you cannot do marketing, right? So it has to be very much transparency has to be maintained. Right, so we are making sure that, and some DAOs don't have information related to the core DAO members. They're anonymous, right? So we need to make sure that okay, these wallets are listed on the platform as to what their holdings are. So bringing those kind of transparency within the product is pretty much important, and that's what we are doing, and we are very much open to ideas as to how we can make it more transparent and more trustable to the folks. Both retail investors, institutional investors, how we can make it more transparent.
Yeah, I respect that, because it's clear that you have a good, like, obviously you understand the community very well. Like, you understand
And
what's
also,
needed.
I'll add one more point, right? We are making sure that we as a company are not holding any DAO tokens. So we are making sure that it's pure DeFi. You hold token in your wallet. If you lose it, then it's your challenge.
Yeah.
We are not
in
going
today's
to
market,
touch your wallet.
that's an important distinction to be made. Yeah.
We are not going to touch your wallet. We are never going to touch your wallet. So you do every transaction in your wallet. We are far away from that. And with respect to the business model, a lot of even what in FTX happened was that they took customers' money, customer tokens, and they transfer it to play in the minefield, right? And that blew
Yeah.
up in their face.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that. What we are doing is we will be charging this transaction fee, and a lot of our ideas depend on how we are able to monetize our content, figure other ways of monetization with respect to the platform. So at this point in time, the two monetization schemes which we have is one, we will charging transaction fee on the platform where we buy, sell, and swap. And two, we will be looking to monetize our content, whether it be ads, ads on our platform. So we will be looking to that, and we will make sure that it's mentioned that it's an ad. If it's a paid sponsored post, it's written as a sponsored, so that people know that it's sponsored. It's we don't want to dupe people around it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's reasonable. And that's like, I feel like that's the most effective way of sort of ensuring that, listen, what we're developing is for the benefit of all. It's not just for the benefit of ourselves. Well, I really appreciate the time that you gave us today here, Mr. Nishu. And like as such, I got to learn a lot about not just building a product in the Web3 space, but also sort of, I'm sure the viewers as well, like of how to manage like the values that you bring along with you through your journey as like an entrepreneur, as a serial entrepreneur. And there's a lot of learnings that you have to take away, like including like, establishing a healthy culture in your work environments, taking care of how you market your product and being sure that it brings value not just to yourself, like in terms of revenue, but also to like the clients that you're trying to service. And especially when working in a domain such as Web3, you want to create a culture of community and inclusiveness, because the idea of decentralization is like essentially what builds like the roots of this entire like domain. Like everyone is coming over here so that everyone has some say or some part involved in the creation of these technologies. So I appreciate the time that you were able to spend with me here today. And I kind of wanted to ask you, like coming on this podcast, like how has your experience been, in sharing your learning? Because I value learning through experience and through storytelling, and like what people can give me, I take from them, and then I give them what I can give them, right? So how realistic do you think this is as like an inspiration, as like an educational model where we get to converse about your experiences and you get to share what you've learned in that way?
See, so basically, we both are people who get into boxing during without having experience. So getting learning on the job is something which we are doing, right? So even for
Yeah.
me, it's learning on the job. You get punched a lot, but you learn as to what are the moves are, right? So yeah, well, see, the having conversation is very, very, very much important. One, because you get to learn a lot about people, and learn how they are doing things, and you can extract or extrapolate a lot of things from that, and that becomes very much important. You need to be. At least I like to. Uh, Sit down and observe as to how a person is doing it, why they are doing certain actions, and why they are avoiding certain actions. So you have to look at both the yin and yang as to why they are doing certain things and why not they are doing certain things, despite you being very much in favor of that. So conversation is important, and that's how we build communities, right? And that's what the human nature is. If you don't start conversing on to people, you won't go for very far ahead. You will be in your own bubble, and at certain point that will pop, right? And you don't want to be that person when that pops. That hurts a lot.
No.
So again, so don't buy into your own hype. That's what I've learned. We bought into our own hype when we did our first company.
Yeah.
So that has always stick with me. That don't buy into your own hype. Always be grounded, and let's see how things work out. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love this interaction with you, sharing my experiences, learning from you, having those questions, which even
Absolutely.
I had to think about those answers as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe that too. Like I appreciate your enjoyment in this experience. And like the fact that, we have to build our own mental models, and you have to have some sort of structure in how you're going to approach every problem. But you also have to see that, okay, other people are also going to influence the structure, and I'm going to develop my model based on like what you've taught me today, for example, and it's going to be different tomorrow, right? It's going to change every day. So as a sort of, yeah.
And I hope that
Go ahead.
your listeners find this conversation well, because I was actively looking to have a very organic conversation, not a conversation which is gyan or fully jargonish. I didn't want to do that, because what I have learned is that you get bored when there are a lot of jargons involved. You get bored at a certain point, and even to a point that you don't want to listen to what that person is saying. So I hope that works.
I feel like it's a balance of like, sharing technical knowledge, but also sharing like hard facts of like what you've experienced, and realizing that, yeah, this is how it's going to go. You can't really like question everything. You just have to roll with the punches at times, and you have to just keep progressing. So as just sort of a rounding off question, I'd like to ask you, like, this is the final question. I'd like to ask you about, and I know it's been a while because you've been in industry for a long time. What about your college life? If there was something you would do differently in your first year of college when you were very, very young, for me, this is a couple of years back. For you, it's a little longer. But would you change anything about how you were working and how you were developing in your first year of college?
I mean, I won't take BTech computer science as a course.
Okay.
To be very
All
honest.
right.
I mean,
All
looking
right.
back, if I have to do business, I should have done BBA and then MBA, right? That would have been a right path for me. But I did my CS, and but again, that was an experience which helped me understanding developers pretty much quickly. What I will change is so one being that there are a lot of learnings post my first startup. Like I said, don't buy into your own hype. We as a unit bought into our own hype, and we went into a bubble. And when that pops, that hurts, right? So and always, sorry, can you hear me?
No worries. Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah. So again, not buying into your own hype is one. Number two is learn from the people who are more knowledgeable from you, and take the opportunities. We had a lot of opportunities. If we would have taken, we would have been a different path. We got a lot of investment opportunities when we were building our first startup. We didn't take it. We had very good opportunities in hand, which could have changed our life at this point in time. Looking back at 2013, 2014, we were just student fresh out of college. A lot of things would have been different. So yeah, take opportunities by both hands, and don't think about it. If it's a good opportunity, just take it. Leave the rest to the path. The path will always become clear once you start working on it. It will always become clear. Just take those opportunities, whatever comes. So, in word of, I think it was I said, if you get a full toss, just hit a six. If just go for it. Just go for those sixes. Don't worry about it. You might get caught on the boundary. You might hit a six. Right. So if you hit a six, it's a home run. So just go for it.
Yeah, I mean, take the risk.
And also I will like to add one more thing. Yeah, and I will also like to add one more thing. So in a journey, whether it be a life or whether it be with respect to entrepreneurship, building a company, having a right frame of mental state or mental health is pretty much important. You get sucked up into it, right? You lose. You get anxiety. You lose a lot of your hair, I think, and get white hairs as well. And you lose some mental peace, and you should be very much open to the idea of talking it out to your friends. Depression is real. When my first company, we had to sell it to a local player. And for 3 months, it was like a lull for me. It was like there's a vacuum.
Mm.
What should I do now? I was working 16 hours a day. Well, now what should I do? What should I do in that free time?
Yeah.
And that became very depressing for me. Right? So those kind of
Mm.
things are real. You cannot be thinking that okay, I'm mentally very hard and it won't happen to me. It happens to everyone. You feel that.
Yeah.
So it's very important to be among your friends, start talking to them. If you feel like that you are getting into some kind of depressing state, visit a doctor. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no two way about it.
Yeah, I agree. Like mental health is a serious issue, especially if you're doing a B-Tech or like you're working in an industry where there's a lot of like responsibility on your head and you realize that you start thinking there is some paths I have to take. I don't have an escape from this. When you enter that mentality, you have to just take a step back and realize your life is more than just like this one path you believe you have to like keep trudging down. Like there is a lot more opportunity. Take people's help. Anyone who's around you, friends and your family will always support you. If they don't, then you need to find a way to develop a support system with someone whom you trust, because there is always someone out there that you can trust your problems with, and they will help you through it if you give them the time and you share with them. That's why I believe that conversation is like the key to like improving, our life experience. We're social creatures. We need to interact with people to like sort of, release our stress. And I absolutely agree. And again, I thank you very much for your time today. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.